Hello, Lori Stevens with Powerful Education Solutions, your 8th grade certified coach. Today I wanted to talk about prioritization. This is the time of year, it's the end of the school year. We're at the end of April, rolling into May, where our older kids in middle school and high school are now having to study for exams, end of course exams, final exams, certification exams for specific courses. And it gets kind of crazy. And we get kind of busy too as the parents in the world, because there's all the things we have to try to help them manage, as well as our own stuff. So what I wanted to talk about was helping them prioritize, because most of them think they know what they're doing. They do. And when I sit down and talk to them as a coach and we look at, okay, well, when are your exams? Well, I don't know. They're the week of this. Okay. That's the first thing, that's the first sign to me that they're really not prepared to plan for studying, okay? Because they don't even know what order their exams are in, so they don't know how to prioritize which ones to study for first. So the first thing is help them figure out what the schedule is for the exams. Most schools have it on their websites, the teachers have published it somewhere, and if they haven't, it's just a matter of sending an email for clarification. And I know that in high school, we try to let kids do it and have a hands off. But if you've already asked them and they already don't know and they're not giving you the information, you can't help them if you don't know. So go ahead and send that email real quick to the teachers and say, hey, can you give me the final exam schedule? Most teachers are happy to do that. You can sit down with your child at that point and plan. Okay, your math exam is first. Math is one of your harder subjects. How much time do you think we need to spend on studying for this exam? And typically, especially in Florida, the end of course exams in math, they're very important because they're 1/3 of their final semester grade. And if they don't pass the EOC, end of course exam, then they don't get that credit for the class until they do. So they can get an A in the class and not pass the exam, and they don't get that credit until they go ahead and pass the exam. So if that's something you're concerned about, we can talk about that. Reach out. You know how to find me. I'm happy to talk to you about that. But just so you know, if they don't pass that exam, then that's the problem. So if math is one of their harder things, they're going to want to study that a little bit more. It's a bigger priority. The other thing with prioritization is, what material do you need to prioritize to study to make sure you have everything that might be on the exam? What I typically will recommend for students is start with the older stuff first, because the newer stuff is fresher. You've been doing it, you have that awareness, but that older stuff might be stuff you forgot. So go back and review that first, study that. And keep in mind, parents, there's passive studying and active studying. Passive studying is exactly what it sounds like, where you're just reading over the material, yep, got it, yep. Reading the vocabulary, reading the definition, yep, got it. That's passive. That's not putting it in the brain, thinking it through, testing yourself, trying to figure out what it is or what the keywords are. Active studying is when you look at the word and you cover up the meaning and you recall what the definition is or what the key words are. And then you move your hand and you look. So going back to prioritization. So first, what is the order of their exams? Okay. Then which subject do they struggle with the most? Now, if it's one of the first subjects, that's almost better because they can throw a lot of energy into studying, get that over with and all done. And then now we can focus on the others. However, if it's the last one, that just gives them more time to study. So help them come up with a schedule for studying, such as an hour on one subject and then an hour on their tough subject. And then if the next day, an hour on a different subject and another hour on their tough subject. Or maybe just half an hour on their tough subject because they need to look at that every day. So I'm sure this stuff makes sense. I'm sure it's stuff that you think about, but it's very specific ways of helping your child prioritize and do well during this very busy, hectic time and getting ready for those final exams. If you want any help, if you want any suggestions, ideas, or thoughts, please reach out to me, Lori Stevens, Powerful Education Solutions. Hope to see you soon.